what American girls are really, genuinely really good at, I've noticed? Giving compliments. I'm walking around and there's a bunch of girls, girl, I love your outfit, girl, your outfit is so cute. Genuinely, like, why don't we do that more in Europe? It's made my day. Thank you, girl, slay queen, all of those things, you know? Made my day. We should do that more often.
There's a specific kind of video that keeps showing up on social media, and it never seems to slow down. A woman, somewhere in America, filming herself mid-sentence, and by the end of the clip, she's in tears. Not sad tears. Not homesick tears. Something else entirely. The kind of tears that come from being treated with more respect, more warmth, and more care than she ever expected. These aren't isolated moments. Search this exact theme, and you'll find hundreds of them. Women from completely different countries, completely different backgrounds, all describing the same feeling in different words. Something shifted for them here. Something they didn't know they were missing until someone treated them like it was normal. Today, we're going through 7 of those moments, one at a time, and by the end, you'll understand exactly why so many foreign women say the same thing once they've spent real time in America. It's not about the country being perfect. It's about being treated like a person, consistently, in ways that quietly change how you see yourself. If this is your first time here, this channel breaks down real reactions and real stories. No filter, no agenda. Hit subscribe now, because this list only gets more emotional from here. It never starts with something huge. It starts small. A door held open a second longer than expected. A stranger stepping aside without being asked. A simple gesture that, on its own, shouldn't mean much, but somehow does. For a lot of women, this is the moment the wall comes down. Not because the gesture itself is rare in the world, small kindness exists everywhere, but because of how consistently it shows up here, from strangers who have absolutely nothing to gain from it. There's no transaction happening. No one's watching to make sure it gets done. It just happens, over and over, in grocery stores, in parking lots, on sidewalks, until it stops feeling like a coincidence and starts feeling like a pattern.
The biggest culture shock for us has been how kind and welcoming the Americans have been. And when I say Americans, I'm referring to Californians. I get it. You don't like the overgeneralization of America and Americans. It's like going to Europe and saying, well, I had a really bad Sunday roast in France, or I don't like the Swiss, so I'm never going to Europe again. I'm joking. The Swiss are really nice. But it's mainly been Californians that we've spoken to. Some of them live in California, some of them are from outside of California. But they've all been so welcoming and so kind. They compliment you a lot. And it's really strange as a British person to experience this. In our culture, we just do not give or receive compliments very well. If somebody gives you a compliment, your typical kind of reaction is, why are you saying that? What do you want? What's in it for you? And it's really sad, isn't it, that we second guess people's motives just because they've been kind and said something nice. It's just not in our culture. So to come to America and experience what feels like genuine warmth and kindness and compliments and just really nice, friendly people is so alien to us. And we love it. It's great. But there's a teeny tiny element of doubt anytime somebody is kind to us. And I've got loads of examples. These are my biggest ones. The first one being welcome. Welcome to America. Welcome to our country. Welcome to your new home. Anytime somebody's overheard our accent and they've asked us, hey, where are you guys from? Sometimes they have a guess and say, are you from Canada? Are you from Australia? We say, no, we're from England. And we have a little chat and they always finish on, well, welcome. Welcome to our country. Welcome home. And it's just so nice, isn't it? Just to say welcome. It's like, we're happy you're here.
And once someone notices the pattern, it becomes almost impossible to unsee. That's usually where the tears come in, not because of one moment, but because of what that one moment represents once she realizes it isn't going away tomorrow. Safety is one of the most personal things a woman can measure when she's somewhere unfamiliar, and it's rarely something she talks about casually. It's something she calculates constantly, without even realizing she's doing it: which street to walk down, what time to head home, whether to keep her keys between her fingers. So when a woman films herself walking to her car at night, getting gas alone, or simply existing in public without that constant background calculation running in her head, and she stops to say out loud how strange and how good that feels, it hits differently than almost any other kind of reaction video.
So when I first moved to the US, the level of helpfulness from Americans was unexpected but amazing. I had people that barely knew me help me out so much. I had a friend rent a van for me to help me move a sofa. Another friend took me car shopping all day. And another just said, borrow my car when my family were visiting and my car was not big enough to pick them up from the airport and all of their luggage. These are people I barely knew at the time, but were willing to help me. They're definitely my good friends now, but I barely knew them before. I also live in a really nice neighborhood, and my neighbor basically said I can call her at any time if I needed her. In London, I lived next to the same people for years and I barely spoke to them. We'd pass by nodding politely and maybe have a little conversation here and there, but we really didn't offer to connect. British helpfulness exists, but this American level of, I know I just met you, but I'll reorganize my entire weekend to help you, is unmatched.
It's not a compliment about the scenery or the food. It's a description of something changing in her own body. A tension she didn't know she was carrying until it wasn't there anymore. If you've ever felt that shift yourself, that moment where you realize you can finally relax somewhere, drop a like on this video right now. It helps more people see it, and there's more of this coming. For a lot of women coming from countries where their opinions get talked over, their ambition gets questioned, or their independence gets treated as something to apologize for, watching someone actually listen when they speak in a meeting can feel almost disorienting at first. Not because it's dramatic, because it's the opposite of dramatic. It's just normal here, and normal is exactly what so many of them were never given. These clips tend to follow a similar arc: confusion first, a slight hesitation, like she's waiting for the catch. Then something closer to disbelief, when the catch never comes. And then, often, the tears, not because anything extraordinary happened, but because something so basic, being heard, being trusted, being taken seriously, finally did. This is usually where the video shifts from lighthearted to something much heavier, because this is where the stakes get real. It's one thing to be treated kindly on an ordinary day. It's another thing entirely to be shown up for during the hardest week of your year by people who barely know you. A neighbor who shows up with a meal. A coworker who organizes something without being asked. A community that rallies around a total stranger simply because she needed it. These stories tend to carry a weight the earlier ones don't, because they're not about politeness anymore. They're about people choosing to show up when it actually costs them something: their time, their energy, their evening. And for a woman who's far from home, without the built-in support system she grew up with, that kind of unprompted care can be the exact moment that breaks something open on camera. For women coming from cultures where independence, even something as basic as driving alone across town, comes with restrictions, expectations, or outright disapproval, this particular freedom hits in a very specific way. It's not about rebellion. It's about ownership over her own schedule, her own money, her own decisions, without needing to justify any of it to anyone. That shift shows up constantly in these clips. Women describing the first time they opened a bank account entirely in their own name. The first time they drove somewhere just because they wanted to, no explanation required. On paper, it sounds almost too small to talk about. On camera, it's often one of the most emotional moments in the entire video, because it represents a version of herself she didn't know she was allowed to have. There's a specific kind of compliment that keeps showing up in these videos. One that isn't about how someone looks, but about who they are. A stranger noticing effort. A coworker acknowledging a win out loud. A cashier telling her she's doing a great job at something completely unrelated to the transaction happening between them. For women who grew up in environments where value was measured almost entirely by appearance, or where compliments came rarely and with conditions attached, this kind of casual, low-stakes encouragement can land harder than almost anything else on this list. It doesn't ask for anything in return. It doesn't come with a follow-up expectation. It's just offered, freely, and for someone used to that, it can be the exact thing that catches her off guard on camera. This is usually the moment that closes out the video, and it's often the most powerful one, because it ties every previous moment together. It's no longer about one kind stranger, one safe walk home, or one respected opinion in a meeting. It's about the cumulative realization that she belongs here, not because she proved something, not because she earned a place at the table, but simply because she showed up as herself, and that turned out to be enough. That's the thread running through nearly every one of these videos, whether the woman filming it realizes it in the moment or not. It was never really about America being flawless. It was about being seen, consistently, without conditions attached. So here's the pattern across all 7 of these moments. None of them are extraordinary on their own. A held door, a safe walk home, a respected opinion, a meal from a neighbor, a bank account in her own name, a compliment with nothing behind it, a community that never made her prove she belonged. Individually small, together life-changing. That's why this specific kind of video keeps going viral again and again, across completely different women, completely different countries, completely different stories. Because underneath all of it is the same simple discovery. Sometimes the most powerful thing a place can offer someone isn't luxury, and it is an opportunity in the abstract sense. It's the quiet, consistent experience of being treated like she matters, without having to ask for it. Let me know in the comments which of these 7 moments hit you the hardest, or if you've experienced something similar yourself. If this video moved you even a little, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and see you in the next one.